Hello again, and welcome back to Procrastination's Pit Stop, where we have the best guests and best topics to get you over that hump. Today we have Nicky Billou. Nicky is a renowned thought leader in mindset, entrepreneurship, branding, and sales, often referred to as the Napoleon Hill of the 21st century. For interviewing over 500 of the world's top leaders like Jack Canfield, John Maxwell, and Maureen Forleo, with 10 books, including two New York Times bestsellers, over 1,000 media appearances, and a business generating six-figure monthly revenue. He has helped over 90 entrepreneurs scale their income by 6 to 8 figures annually and has shared the stage with some of the world's top success speakers. Nicky, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Honored to be here.
We're definitely honored to have you here, sir. Now, before we dig into it, we do have an icebreaker on the show, as we usually do. Your question today is, which fictional character would you choose to have dinner with, and why?
Rocky, to learn how he developed that rock solid mindset.
I like that. I like that. And just before we dig into it, I give a little brief intro there. Could you share a little bit about your journey and how you got to be where you are today?
Thank you for the question. I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So he got together with my mom, and the two of them figured out a plan to get me and my two brothers out of Iran. And it took a few years, but eventually we landed where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, back then I was a kid. I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But looking back, it was the single greatest thing mom and dad could have done for me and my two brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny and they brought us to a legacy of freedom. Inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every man, every woman on this planet wants to march to the tune of their own drummer, to chart their own course. And you think about it, if you're an entrepreneur without freedom, you can't have a business. Freedom gives rise to free expression, which gives rise to free enterprise. And that's the basis of a successful entrepreneurial economy. And me, as I grew older, I saw the wisdom of what mom and dad did. And dad, he was an entrepreneur himself. If you knew him, Chris, you'd love him. If you were trying to find a job, he'd sit you down in his office, call all his entrepreneur buddies till he got you a job. You were trying to start a business, he'd sit down with you. He'd help you think through your plans. He'd get you access to capital. He'd get you access to customers and get you going. If you were trying to buy a car or a house and you didn't have quite enough money and the bank wouldn't quite give you everything you needed, he'd top you up with a loan that he'd never let you pay back. Now, all kinds of people who hear this story come to me and go, Nicky, this sounds too good to be true. Who does that? I said, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. And then they'd ask me, what's in it for him? Why would he do it? And I said, well, first and foremost, he did it because he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and it was his duty to share those blessings with other people. But he also did it because he was rich. He was successful. I wanted to be just like him. Dad was a good man. I wanted to be a good man. Dad was somebody who helped people. I wanted to be somebody who helped people. He'd tell me when I was a kid, son, life is about people, not money. And I'd go, okay, Dad. And then he'd say, business, son, is even about people, not money. Now I was a kid, I was 8 years old. I'm going, Dad, what do you mean? How's that possible? Without money, there's no business. He said, that's true, son. But without people, there's no need for money. See, all business is solving problems for people for profit. That's all it is. And if you understand that, you're going to solve acute problems for awesome people and an amazing profit. That's the awe-inspiring purpose of business. And when I started to understand this, I thought I can help other entrepreneurs. I can help them, good people who want to go out there and be successful, understand that they should lead with their hearts. They should lead with the innate goodness within them. Because Dad would tell me, son, everybody needs someone to believe in them. That man standing in front of you, that's someone's son, that's someone's brother, that's someone's father. That is a hero to somebody. And maybe someone just like you let him down in business. Your job is to restore his faith in humanity. You got to believe in people, son, he said to me. Everyone needs someone to believe in them. And that little spark of belief you give them can turn into a roaring fire, and then they're off into the races. And, I've been fortunate to do a lot in my life. But the thing that I'm most proud of is I'm Napoleon Billou's son. And I believe in people.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, your dad sounds like he was a great guy, and you're very lucky to have him. What So just going back into you dealing with entrepreneurs, what is procrastination to you, and what did it mean to you personally?
Procrastination is putting off till tomorrow what you ought to do today. Really, that's the bottom line. And a lot of entrepreneurs do this. A lot of my entrepreneur friends and clients have come across this as an issue. So I've had folks who just don't want to pick up the phone or go out to a business meeting. They don't want to go out and meet people and make money, because they're scared of selling. It's a fear that causes procrastination. And this is a shame because they miss out on business they should get. The client misses out on a good person helping him, and then some charlatan marketer will come in, not afraid, scoop up the business, but they won't deliver. So everybody loses. And one of the key things I teach people is go out there and sell. And if sales and selling is a 4-letter word to you, don't think of it as selling. Let's reframe it to service. Nobody wants to be sold. Chris, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But don't you love being served by a good, caring human being? Once we show people how to do that, the rest is golden, my friend.
You are quite right on that. In your experience, when you talk about people being afraid, they most afraid of usually?
Well, honestly, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I'm well positioned to answer that because most of the fear is something I can't relate to too well. I think it's something around not wanting to be disliked. If they ask for the sale, somehow this makes them a bad person. Somehow this means that the other people are going to get mad at them because they were too pushy, too salesy. And, there's no pushiness on my end. And I go and I take a stand for people. Any pressure or pushiness they feel, it's coming from them because of the crappy situation they're in. Their business isn't going well, their life isn't going well, their marriage is falling apart, their health is terrible. That's the real pressure. That's the real pushiness, the real oppression. For me, what I teach clients is take a stand for people. You won't procrastinate on your sales if instead of thinking about, are they going to like me? Are they going to want to do business with me? You think about, this is someone who's in trouble and they need my help. You put the attention on them and not on yourself. You won't need to procrastinate.
I like that. I like how you put that. So, what would you say is your secret sauce then, just to sum it up, to get over procrastination?
The attention on them, take it off of me.
Excellent. I like that. I like that. And in dealing with these entrepreneurs that might be afraid to get the no, is there any tip that you give them? I mean, obviously focusing on the client, but is there any actionable tip that helps them maybe take that first step? Let's say they're afraid of hearing no. What would you do to combat?
Like I said, you got to put the attention on them and not you. You're afraid of hearing no because it's all about you. You make the no mean something for you. Nobody's saying no to you. They're saying no to their dream. That's a sad thing when someone says no to their dream, And if you're in a sales conversation and all the attention is on what's in it for me, how am I going to get a sale? Are they going to like me? Are they going to want to do business with me? That's not going to be a very satisfying conversation for you or for the other person. But if your attention is on serving, how can I help this person? What do they need? Where are they suffering? And then if you can determine that what you do will help them get over the suffering, you're golden.
Right. So again, and that is that's brilliant actually, because we do tend to make it all about ourselves, and then we get panicky, and then we wind up losing their interest, right? So I like that, making it about them and just don't worry about it. Because well, what was it somebody said to me? If you need it, it won't happen. Is that kind of the gist too?
Well, look, if you focus on your need, it won't happen. You know, Because at the end of the day, what people want, what they care about succeeding. And the only way they're going to succeed is if the focus is on being of service. It's all about that. It's all about that.
And in your own personal journey, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you had to overcome?
That's a really, really good question. So coming to a new country was absolutely a massive challenge for me. Learning about a new culture was absolutely a massive challenge for me. Come from the Middle East, the way people think and act is very different than North America. You know, it's supercalifragilistic important in coming to a new place to learn how to belong. It took me a lot of years to learn that, man, because I just didn't understand the culture. You know what I mean, Chris?
For sure, I know what you mean. I've spent some time bouncing around other countries myself. And how did you go about sort of integrating and learning? What steps did you take?
I don't think there were any steps per se. It's just going through daily life and living. It's not like I had a plan for it. I was just a new kid on the block, and I went to school, tried to make friends. I tried to do well in school, joined sports teams. I'm a father, I got kids, and they're in sports. And sports has taught them more about socialization than anything else.
Nope, that's very true. And in sports, you've got camaraderie, and then you've got to follow a set of rules and integrate with the team. So sports is definitely important for that. Now, did they choose these sports themselves, or did you kind of encourage them to do it, or how did that?
Well, my sons got into the sports that they liked. We just exposed them to various sports, and they picked what they wanted to do. It's usually the best way to do it with kids, because if they don't like the sport, they're not going to stick to it, right? But when they were younger, they did karate. They did that for several years, and then they didn't want to do it anymore. Then my older son played soccer for many, many years, all the way through till he turned 18. And then at 18, he started to work. And my younger son plays hockey, and now he's also playing soccer as well. But young boys they need guidance, but you got to give them agency to choose what they want to do in life. I'm not going to force a kid to do something he doesn't want to do.
That's very true. I mean, if they pick the things they want to do, then they're not going to be hesitant in doing it. But that's always a fine line as parents, right? I mean, we sometimes have to push to get them to choose what they want.
Well, you know, I like to encourage more than to force the kid to do something. Because if he doesn't want to do it, I don't want to put him in a position where he feels he's being forced to do something he doesn't want to do. And they won't anyways. But trust me, my kids sure as heck did. When they were done with karate, they were done. They stopped going. They weren't interested.
Oh, I mean, they've got you as a role model, so I'm sure that they're going to grow up just fine, and they're going to have their own successes as well. Speaking of successes, you've had so many. What do you think were some of your proudest moments?
Well, it's a good question. You know, our client successes really are the things that I'm very, very proud of. I'll tell you a story. We had a client who was a young man, and he was a personal fitness trainer. And when he came to us, he wasn't doing well, man. He had 7 clients, and he made under $1,200 a month. It's crazy. And he wanted to be making $1 million a year, he told me. I said, man, yeah, that sounds good, but let's get you from 1,200 a month to 5,000 a month. Let's start there, maybe, right? And so I asked him, so tell me a bit about how you help people. He says, well, I'm a trainer and help people with any fitness related problem. They want to lose weight, they want to gain muscle, I can do it. I said, yeah, that's part of your problem, trying to be all things to all people. He said, okay, so what should I do? I said, well, narrow your focus. He said, well, how? I said, well, start by picking a group of people to work. He said, okay, I'll work with doctors. Okay, why doctors? He says, well, my dad's a doctor. I love my dad. I go, all right, sounds promising. He said, also, doctors make a lot of money, so they can afford to pay me. I said, no, man, that's not the way to go. Forget about that. He said, no, no, no. He went after doctors. He got maybe 2 clients in a few months. So I told him, this isn't working, man. Let's come up with something else. He said, okay, I got it. Cardiologist. Go, why cardiologist? They make more money than doctors. Oh my God, buddy. Come on. That's not going to work. No, I'm going to do it. He got 0 clients as cardiologists. But throughout this time, God was watching over him because he found him a client who was a man with a missing limb. And he really was able to help this guy. And this guy was a Paralympic athlete, and he helped him win medals at major competitions. Then he comes to me and he goes, Nicky, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I go, why are you sorry? He said, you've been telling me I should not be focusing on the money. I should just try to be helping people. I didn't listen. And you were right. And he said, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to work with these people with missing limbs because I know how to help them and they need my help. I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's go with it. Anyways, brother, he signed up 400 clients in 6 weeks. 400. And he went from making $1,200 a month to making over $100,000 a month. It's a 100-fold increase in his business. You think about that. How's that possible? Well, first of all, he stopped focusing on the money. And then the money started focusing on him. Secondly, and this is very, very, very important, he found a good niche that nobody else was in. It was a blue ocean. It wasn't a red ocean with lots of competition. And then thirdly, the message that he had was powerful. His message wasn't just, hey, I'm going to train you. His message to someone with a missing limb who's maybe lost a bit of dignity was, hey, you're just as good as anybody else. And that message hit home for those folks. That's why a lot of them ended up calling him and doing business with him. It was incredible if you think about it.
No, that is an incredible story, and it's interesting because a lot of times in business we are really focused on the money, right? I mean, the first thing that, well, I'm not going to say all of them, but many business coaches go into is as you're choosing your niche and you're making your buyer personas, you are looking for groups that can pay for your services, right? So how did that align with this particular client though? I mean, obviously it worked out because he got 100,000, but
Month, $100,000 a month, not one
I
time, but
mean,
ongoingly. It's crazy.
yeah. So how do you reconcile that when, say, an entrepreneur wants to start something and they're looking at who they want to serve? How do they start breaking that down? Because I mean, obviously this guy went for the people with the most money. How did he finally land on again? How did he finally land? Can you go over that again? How
He
did he
didn't
land
land
on
on them,
those?
brother. It was God guiding him to this guy. There was no plan to meet these people. There was no landing on it. It was God was telling him, you're going in the wrong direction. Here's the right direction. That's what happened.
That is definitely an amazing story for sure. If all of us could be so lucky, right?
Well,
But
if you are willing to be coached and you are willing to open yourself up to the messages that God is giving you every day, you too can make $1 million in a year. Anybody here can do it. I've helped several people make this kind of money. He isn't the only one, and there's people listening to this going, I don't believe it. It's impossible. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. The fastest I got a person to 1 million was 32 days. 32 days.
and what was I'm curious now. 1 million in 32 days. That is an astonishing number. What area of business were they in?
Woman, she's med spa consultant, where they do the Botox type of services.
And who's your favorite kind of entrepreneur to work with?
That's a great question. I like people who are motivated. These are the 4 qualities, I'll tell you. So number 1 is they're decisive. Like they want a result. There's no wishy-washiness. I want it, and they're going for it. 2 is they're committed. They know they're going to be bad at it at first. They get it. 3 is they're coachable and they believe in investing in themselves. You are not going to do it alone. You're either going to coach in yourself, you're going to invest in yourself, or you're not. And if you're investing in yourself, that means hire a coach, join a mastermind, attend the conference, do a course, read a book. Robin Sharma, the author of the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, used to be a client of mine. And he said to me once, Nikki, if you want to double your income, triple your investment in personal and professional development. Triple. I'm like, wow, triple. Well, yeah, triple. Like, okay, triple. And he was right. I did it that year, and it was a hardship at first. I didn't have extra cash lying around, but I over doubled my income that year. I over doubled my income. So if you spend $1,000 last year, spend 3,000 this year. If you spend $5,000 last year, spend 15,000 this year. If you spend $10,000 last year, spend 30,000 this year. But the more you invest in yourself, the more successful you're going to be. And then you got to be resourceful. You got to come up with the money to pay for the investment, and you got to come up with the money to pay for the lifestyle you're creating for yourself. If you do those two things, success will be yours.
Personal development, I like that. It is, and I know there's no real silver bullet, and I'm sure this is probably different for everybody. But is there any sort of area that is fundamental for somebody to definitely invest in?
Coaching in yourself. That is the number one thing you got to do is invest in you. You're your most important asset. You got to always be focusing on getting better. If you don't invest in yourself, that means you don't believe in yourself. Think about that. You don't believe in you. That's a horrible thing. And find a way to draw at that belief, and you'll win.
And when we're talking personal development courses, coaching, is there anything that any aspiring entrepreneur would want to do that they'd want to work on first, specifically?
Yeah. Become known in your space. Become a thought leader, an authority. Because I got to tell you something, Chris. If you sound and look like everybody else, you're not going to be successful. You gotta be an oasis of differentiation, not stuck in the sea of sameness. You know what I'm trying to say here? And I'll tell you a story. I had another client, a woman. She's a functional medicine doctor. She came to see us because she was already successful. She made 6 figures a year, but she wanted to be uber successful. She wanted to make 7 figures a year. Her father was her hero, and he was dying of glioblastoma, brain cancer, right? Think about that. That really sucks, glioblastoma. Anyways, here's what ended up happening. She came to us and said, "Can you help me?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Who are the clients you currently work with?" She says, "Well, I work with a lot of different clients. I can really solve almost any health problem." And I said, "Yeah, that's the first problem. Let's take a look at the clients you've worked with. Who are the clients you enjoyed working with the most? Who are the clients you got the best results for? And who are the clients that were the easiest to work with?" She took a look at all that and she said, "Okay, I figured it out." We found out which clients were in all 3 buckets. And it turns out they were all women over the age of 45, married with children, successful marriages, successful careers. You think about that, right? And what she figured out was they were doing really, really well everywhere in their life except in one area. They felt they were not young and beautiful and pretty, slim anymore. Now, Chris, I don't know about you, but I've heard that matters to women. I'm not sure if it does, but I've heard it does. And she said to me, "Look, getting older is inevitable. The number is going to go up every year, but aging isn't." And she said, "I can help these women look and feel just as good as they did in their 20s and 30s, in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and even 70s. I said, "Okay." So we helped her come up with a name for her program. We called it Get Your Sexy Back. And Chris, brother, boom, 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 boom. In her first year working with us, she doubled her income. In her second year, she doubled it again. In her third year, she doubled it again. She went from 6 figures a year to 6 figures a month. That's the power of having real expertise, turning it into thought leadership, to having that become a powerful brand. So if you go do something like this, you better be good at what it is you're putting out there. Because if you're no good, it'll crash and burn around you. But as long as you have the expertise and you get the help of someone like myself and my team, you're golden. You're going to double your income, triple it, tenfold it.
Right. So just to recap here, we're looking at sort of the entrepreneur's package. We want to become thought leaders in our area of expertise, we want to niche down inside that area, because if we try to relate to everybody, we'll relate to nobody. And then we need to make sure that our messaging is also hitting that core group.
Yep, 100%. If you don't do that, you're toast.
And what's the most common mistake that you see new entrepreneurs?
Okay, this is important. This is a good question. They don't embrace that success is fully theirs to make happen. And they are living in a la-la land that they can somehow do this without selling. And it's not going to happen. You have got to sell. You got to get out there. You got to meet people. You got to ask for business. Far too many people are hoping if they post on Instagram, someone's going to call them and they'll get a sale that way. Or maybe they'll do paid ads. Nope. If you're selling something that's a relatively high ticket offer, you got to sell. Maybe one day you can hire a sales team, but you better be good at selling it yourself first before you go hire anybody else and train them on how to sell it. Otherwise, you'll do a shitty job of teaching them how to sell you, essentially, which is what your offerings are.
So hang on a second. I just want to back up for a second here. You are saying that essentially you don't want to go dump all into paid ads or any kind of big marketing campaign. You want to do just face-to-face selling?
Back up. If you have a high ticket offer, by that I mean $2,000 and up, that's the only way you're going to be effective at selling. You or other human beings selling. AI will not sell a high ticket offer to a human being. It won't. Might sell a low ticket offer, no problem. But a high ticket offer where someone's got to consider very seriously whether they're going to do business with you, you need to have a human to human interaction.
You know, I'm glad that you kind of brought up AI. So where do you stand on AI then? Is it a tool that can be used in business? Is it replacing our help, or how do we use it effectively?
Great question. In my opinion, is a great tool, but you need to understand it's here to stay. And if you try to stick your head in the sand and do nothing about learning how to leverage it, you're screwed. You're screwed. AI is here. This is like the people who had the horse and buggies who didn't want to hear about cars. Cars are here, man. Deal with it. AI's here. Deal with it. That's the truth. And it's a wonderful tool. There's a lot you can do with it if you get curious about it rather than scared of it.
And how do you use AI in your business?
I use AI to write some marketing messages, to do some copywriting, and my team is going to be using AI to come up with a video to sell my new book. I actually just published my 11th book. Here it is. It's called Get Booked and Get Paid: How to Generate 6 Figures Plus a Year Through Podcast Guesting. A buddy of mine just had me on a show, and he has a book out too. And he had a video commercial for his book. And I got to tell you something, man. It was amazing. He made it entirely with AI, and it's fantastic. And I'm like, I want something like that. So our team's going to go make that for us.
Well, that's excellent. Congratulations. And so they say that writing a book is 95% procrastination. Is that true? Do you find that's true? I mean, you've written 10 books, so I mean, I can't imagine you've procrastinated, but I mean, that's the same.
Well, it's about overcoming procrastination. There's a book called The War of Art by Steve Pressfield, and he talks about this force called resistance, which tries to get you to procrastinate, not take action. And I really believe in his message, and I use that book to help me overcome any residual resistance that I have to taking action. If you want to win, man, you got to act now. I'm the act now guy. That's one of my Nickyisms. Act now. You know, not tomorrow, not next week, not in a minute, now. That's how you win in life.
So Nike had it right. Just do it. Instead of just do it, it's act now.
Yep. Just do it, comma, now. Act now.
And just going back to this podcast book, and you said that you were going to generate this video with AI. Now, do you find that is there any tool that you would recommend, or are you still sort of trying out a bunch of different?
Like I said, someone on the team's doing it. I'm not, so I can't say what we're going to use. But there's a whole bunch of tools available. ChatGPT, Grok. There's a ton of them. More and more all the time. I mean, you and I are on this podcast because of AI. We are on a platform for podcasters and guests that uses AI to match hosts with guests. You came on my radar because of AI saying, yeah, Chris and his show would be a good show for you to go on.
Well, I guess it was a smart AI then.
Yeah, 100%.
And so out of just staying on the topic of the books for a second, out of these, well, now 11 books that you've written, what do you think was your favorite book?
Brother, as a good author, my favorite book is always the latest book that's out right now, right? So this is it. Get booked and get paid. Out just right now. And the reason this is such a good book is because if you're a business or a businesswoman and you want to get more clients, there's a lot of methods that have been used for quite a while, but because they've been used for quite a while, they don't work as well. It's like they're in a red ocean. There's a book written several years ago called Blue Ocean Strategy, which posits that most businesses operate in red oceans. They go out there and they go after business in the same way that everybody else does. So there's a lot of competition and they're chomping at the same fish and there's a lot of blood in the water. That's why it's a red ocean. But there's some people who are smart and they don't go compete in the red oceans. They go look for a blue ocean where there's no competition. So people are telling you go on podcasts and they're hoping that somehow if someone goes on a podcast, they're going to have the opportunity to get someone to call them back. And that's what they're hoping for. That might happen, it might not. My strategy is I go on a podcast to get to know the host. You're a businessman. Let's face it. There's potential for you and I to collaborate. We might do a joint venture together. There's potential for you and I to get to know each other. You might become my client. I might become yours. There's potential for you to give referrals to me as a guest. My job when I go on a show is, do a great job for the audience, but do an amazing job for the host. Make the host happy they brought you on. And take that time so that the host will go, I like you. I like you being on my show. And they're open to having a conversation with you about some level of collaboration. That's what everybody's got to do. Nobody teaches this. I'm the only person in the world that teaches this. That's why this is a blue ocean for me and my clients. And when people do this, Chris, the opportunity for them to go on a lot of shows increases exponentially. So I have my own show, but I'm going to go on 100 shows between now and the end of the year. And my goal is to get 40, 50 conversations as a result of this, because I've networked with the host and get 10, 15 sales. You think about that, that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because it's a blue ocean. Nobody else is doing it. And I teach you how to do it well. So, you're a professional. You've noticed there's certain things I'm doing. There's certain things I'm doing that are designed to open a door for a relationship to be possible between you and I. So I started off by telling you my story. Now, my story's real, genuine, and authentic. So don't lie. Don't be one of those shysters who goes lying to people, okay? That's not cool. But my story is designed to get the audience and you, the host, to get to know me a little bit. If I started off by just saying, hey, let me tell you what I do in my books, who cares? Do you care? You don't really care. Nobody cares. But when I tell you about my story, my father, that I come from Iran, well, you're a man, I'm a man, you're listening to this and you're comparing it with your own experience with your father, and you're going, yeah, my dad was a man like that, man. Good for him. He had a dad just like mine. That's going to give us an element of commonality. Or maybe if your dad wasn't like that, you go, oh, man, I wish I had that from my dad, but I know that's the kind of dad I want to be, and I'm glad he had that kind of dad. All those are going through your head while we're having this conversation. And then when I'm telling you the story about freedom, you go, yeah, freedom, man, freedom. I believe in freedom. I love freedom. I'm an entrepreneur, man. Of course I believe in freedom. All those things are going through your head and the audience's head. So, yes, it's an authentic, real, powerful story. But I tell that story to create connection and relatedness. Business is about connection and relatedness. It's all relationships, brother. And everybody's going, I want to use social media to grow my business. Good luck with that. You're not Joe Rogan. You're not going to get a gazillion people coming to you from social media. But you go on 100 podcasts, that's 100 new potential business connections you made, brother. Now tell me that's not brilliant.
I'm not gonna sit there and do that. I mean, I'll just be ripped a new one this way to Sunday. Like, what do you mean it's not good? But no, you're right. You're right, and it is brilliant. And okay. Well, I'm sold on the book. Where can I get a copy?
Amazon. Right now, go on to Amazon. I don't know where are you? Where do you live?
I'm actually about 2 hours south of you, brother.
Okay, where
I'm
exactly?
in I'm in St. Catharines, Ontario.
Oh my God. So go to Amazon.ca and type in Nicky Billou. My name. I'm the only Nicky Billou on the planet. So it's unique. It's a unique name, and this book will show up first, right away. Pick up a copy, and once you read the book, if you want to learn more, I run a workshop on the topics in the book, also called Get Booked and Get Paid, to go deeper into it. So there you go.
Sounds like a good idea. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. And I just noticed we are coming up pretty close to the time. But I wanted to ask you, do you feel like there's something, Nikki, that maybe I should have asked but didn't ask, or maybe a topic we should have covered but didn't cover?
Well, you know what? I think you should ask me. So, Nikki, does this stuff about this Get Booked and Get Paid really work? Should have been a little skeptical. I know you love me and all that, and I love you too, man. You're awesome. You should have said, prove it to me. And I'd say to you, all right, Chris. Well, I got into this because of necessity being the mother of invention. A part of my business blew up over COVID, and I needed a new way to get business. My coach, who also co-wrote the book with me, said, why don't we get you on shows to get lead sales and clients? I said, okay, I'll try anything. We went on 100 shows with zero results. But on the 101st show, it all clicked for me, and I started to get sales. And I've gotten over $410,000 in sales over a 2-year period, 5 hours to 7 hours a week, brother. And on top of that, I've been able to teach this to people. So my workshop, there's a fellow who did the workshop with me, and he's a tax accountant. Now, Chris, the stereotypical tax accountant, I would say, is not the world's most passionate, charismatic, and high energy guy. Would you agree with that assessment, brother?
Ben Stein comes to mind.
There you
Monotone.
go, Ben Stein. There you go. I love Ben Stein. He's awesome. I love the articles he writes for American Spectator. So, buddy's name is Michael, and he's in Newmarket, so just north of me. You're south of me. He's north of me. He did my workshop. This was before I had the book, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna do everything you said." So he's super coachable, right? And when he came on, he's so quiet. I didn't know if he got anything out of it. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, Michael, what was it like for you?" And I'm half dreading the answer because he's an accountant and he's like not high charisma, not high passion. I'm thinking he's going to say, nothing worked. But he said, well, on the very first show I went, I talked about this thing he does, which is very niche and whatever. And the host, who was a woman, said, this is amazing. Can I refer you some of my clients? I think they need this. And he said, well, of course. What would you say? Of course. Yeah, of course. Refer me some of your clients. Naturally, of course. Anyways, she referred him 10 clients. And brother, 3 of them became his clients at $12,000 each. That's $36,000 from one show. That was 40 minutes. 40 minutes. That's the $36,000 hour, brother. That's amazing. And people are listening to this going, okay, Nikki, you got all kinds of energy. Chris, he's a charismatic dude. I'm not like that. I'm not charismatic. I'm not a public speaker. Well, if Michael can do it, the tax accountant who's an introvert, you can do it.
Well, I mean, for all those introverts out there, it's a lot different being on a podcast than it is being in front of people anyway. I mean, you don't have to see anybody. You don't have to look at your audience. And actually, just a word out there. Actually, I was talking to another guest on our show, and he said that he got he was surprised because these podcasts, they're evergreen. Because he said um, he got contacted about a podcast he did 2 years ago, and he didn't even remember which one it was.
You know, brother, that's happened to me too. In addition to my business, I run a men's group. And I had a fellow reach out to me saying, "Hey, I found you through your podcast. Can I have a conversation with you? I'm interested in your men's group." I'm like, "Yeah." And he signed up. He's doing the men's group. We do a 90-day kind of probationary trial. Chance for them to check us out and us to check them out. He signed up for the 90 days.
That is great. We are coming up here though. Just one last thing before we go. We know we can get the book on Amazon. What's the best way to reach out to you though?
Look, man, like I said, I'm the only Nicky Billou on the planet. You go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you go on LinkedIn, and you just type in Nicky Billou or Twitter, X, whatever. You will find me. It is so easy. Like, but I'm going to say this to you, okay? Go and get the book. Go on Amazon, type in Nicky Billou, get the book. It's a quick read, but it's packed full of insight and actionable tips. And if you're like going, I'm looking for a way to get more leads, this is it. This is it. This is what you want to do. So it's on Kindle, it's a paperback, it's a hardcover. You can spend anywhere from $5 to $35 to get the book. And I got to tell you, you will be so glad you did. And if once you get the book, you go, well, Nicky, man, I think I need a little bit more help than the book. Then there's a link at the back of the book which will get you on my calendar. So just go to that link, click on it, or type it in, whatever, and then say, Nicky, I want to call with you, and I'll do a call with you for free. And here's the other thing: if you want to be like a super spreader in a good way of the message of the book, go to Amazon and buy 10 copies of the book, okay? Take it and give it as gifts to people. Take a screenshot of the 10 copies you're buying and send it to me and say, yo, Nicky, I bought 10 copies of the book, and I'll give you an hour of my time as a coach for free. Which I normally, like an hour with me normally costs $2,500. So it's a good deal. Jump all over it, buy a few books, hand them out to people, and I'll do this for you.
Does sound like a really good deal.
I think so.
Excellent.
Christmas is coming,
again,
right? Gift season, buddy. It's time to give gifts.
Oh, well, wait, no. It is not Christmas yet. We haven't passed Halloween, man.
I know, man, but this is the time to buy. You should do all your Christmas gift shopping now.
Oh, I'll get on it. See what I did there? I'll do it. I'll get it.
Procrastination Nation, baby.
Exactly. Well, again, Nicky, thank you so much for for being on the show. It has been a pleasure. And to all our listeners, please go out, reach out to Nicky, pick up 10 copies of the book if you feel like it's something that you'd like to do. And again, if you can't find that inspiration or motivation for yourself today, go out and be that inspiration or motivation for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.